A very good morning to all of you. It is the second day of our short course on convection heat transfer, and what we are going to discuss today is a continuation of what we started discussing yesterday. So, we will continue with the analysis of thermal boundary layer over a flat plate. For an example, heated flat plate. We considered the case with Prandtl number equal to 1 and we drew an analogy in that case which is called as Reynolds analogy, but we will also consider two other cases, two other very interesting limiting cases. One is Prandtl number much less than 1, another is Prandtl number much greater than 1. So, other cases of Prandtl number. Case 1, Prandtl number much less than 1. So, what is the physical scenario? The physical scenario is something like this, that you have a solid boundary fluid is coming from far stream with a velocity u infinity and temperature T infinity. The wall temperature is different from T infinity. As an example, T wall greater than T infinity. So, now hydrodynamic boundary layer will grow and thermal boundary layer will also grow. At a given location, what can we say about the relative thicknesses of these two boundary layers? See, Prandtl number is equal to nu by alpha. So, nu is associated with the distance up to which the momentum disturbance imposed by the wall is felt. So, nu is related to delta and alpha is related to the distance from the wall up to which the thermal disturbance of the wall is felt. So, it is related to the thermal boundary layer thickness delta T. So, Prandtl number much less than 1 must correspond to the case delta much less than delta T. So, just for exaggeration I am drawing delta like this and delta T like this, but actually delta is much less than delta T. So, for this case we will make an analysis of the boundary layer equation, thermal boundary layer equation. So, thermal boundary layer equation, let us write the equation. We assume as usual 2-dimensional incompressible steady and constant properties. What we come up with is u del T del x and delta much less than L delta T much less than L, so that you can use the hydrodynamic as well as the thermal boundary layer equations. So, U del T del x plus V del T del y. However, we are analyzing only the thermal boundary layer equation. So, within this paradigm, hydrodynamic boundary layer description may not be important if you have a fixed description of U. We will see that in a moment. So, order of magnitude wise, so where we are making this analysis, remember we are making this analysis within the thermal boundary layer, not within the hydrodynamic boundary layer. So, within the thermal boundary layer. So, not within the hydrodynamic boundary layer. So, within the thermal boundary layer, what is U at the edge of the thermal boundary layer? Let us, so the order of magnitude wise, this is U at delta T into delta T by L, L is the length of the plate. This is of the order of V at delta T into delta T by L. So, what is V at the, sorry, delta T by delta T. So, what is the V delta T? Now, if you write the continuity equation, del U del x plus del V del y equal to 0. You apply this continuity equation within the thermal boundary layer. This is very important. Do not apply the continuity equation within the hydrodynamic boundary layer, because our domain of analysis for thermal boundary layer is the thermal boundary layer, not the hydrodynamic boundary layer. So, it becomes U delta T by L, this is of the order of V delta T by delta. So, V delta T by delta T is of the order of U delta T by L. So, these two are of the same order. So, the resultant order is U delta T into delta T by L. Now, the question is, what is U at delta T? See, this location is outside the hydrodynamic boundary layer. So, U has become U infinity at this location. So, if you draw the velocity and temperature profiles here, let us try to draw it. The velocity profile is like you have U equal to U infinity there. So, I am not drawing the temperature profile over it because the figure will be too clumsy, but you can well see that U delta T is equal to U infinity if delta is much less than delta T. So, this is of the order of U infinity delta T by L. What is the order of this expression? This is of the order of alpha delta T by delta T square. So, we can write that in this equation, in the left hand side you have the advection term, which is of the order of U infinity delta T by L. Right hand side there is diffusion, which is or conduction, which is of the order of alpha delta T by delta T square, and they are of the same order at the edge of the thermal boundary layer. So, physically what we can write, U infinity delta T by L is of the order of alpha delta T by delta T square. Okay. So, delta T square by L is of the order of alpha by U infinity. that means delta t by L whole square is of the order of alpha by u infinity L. This you can write as u infinity L by nu into alpha by nu. So, this is nothing but 1 by Reynolds number into 1 by Prandtl number. Reynolds number into Prandtl number is also called as Piclet number. This is the ratio of advection strength to diffusion strength. This is the physical meaning of this. Here diffusion means thermal diffusion. So, Piclet number is u infinity L by alpha here. So, u infinity implies advection strength and alpha implies thermal diffusion strength. So, that is why this is advection strength by diffusion strength. That means you can write here now delta T by L is of the order of Reynolds number to the power minus half into Prandtl number to the power minus half. Okay. So, this is case 1. Case 2 is a little bit more subtle. This is Prandtl number much greater than 1. So, let us try to draw the boundary layers for this case. So, Prandtl number much less than 1 means much greater than 1 means delta much greater than delta t. So, the thermal boundary layer here which we are drawing by the blue line is this, and the hydrodynamic boundary layer is somewhat like this. So, the velocity profile if you are interested to draw, so I can write this is delta t and this is delta. So, if you draw the velocity profile, then u at delta t, that is at this location, u at delta t is not u infinity, u infinity is u at delta. So, scaling wise we can write u at delta t by u infinity is of the order of delta t by delta. It is just, it is not a real proportionality, it is a scaling based proportionality, because at delta t u is u delta t and at delta u is u infinity. So, u delta t by u infinity is of the order of delta t by delta. So, now if you go to the thermal boundary layer equation, scaling, you have u delta t into delta t by L of the order of alpha delta t by delta t square. So, now you can write u delta t as u infinity from this and this, you can write u delta t as u infinity into delta t by delta into delta t by L is of the order of alpha delta t by delta t square. So, now you can cancel these and you can write delta T cube by delta L, delta T cube by delta L is of the order of alpha by u infinity. So, now you can write delta T cube by delta L into 1 by L square is of the order of alpha by u infinity L square. Why we have written this? Because then you can write this as delta T cube by L cube is of the order of alpha by u infinity L square into delta. So, delta T cube by L cube is of the order of alpha by u infinity L into delta by L, right. So, alpha by u infinity L is what? This is Reynolds number to the power minus 1 into Prandtl number to the power minus 1, yes. And delta by L is Reynolds number to the power minus half. This we did from hydrodynamic boundary layer analysis. This is where fluid mechanics comes into the picture. You might have thought that why did we at all study the hydrodynamic boundary layer for the heat transfer analysis. This is where it comes into the picture. To find out delta T, we need to know how delta varies with L. So, this is Reynolds number to the power minus half. This scaling is from the scaling of the hydrodynamic boundary layer equation. So, delta T by L whole cube is of the order of Reynolds number to the power minus 3 by 2 and Prandtl number to the power minus 1. So, delta T by L becomes of the order of Reynolds number to the power minus half into Prandtl number to the power minus 1/3. So, we can write this as the expression for Prandtl number much greater than 1. So, one interesting thing, for Prandtl number much less than 1, you see delta T by L expression was this, and what is delta by L? Delta by L does not depend on Prandtl number, delta by L is of the order of Reynolds number to the power minus half. So, what is delta T by delta? So, delta T by L divided by delta by L. So, delta T by delta is of the order of Prandtl number to the power minus half. This we get from here. So, that is why Prandtl number is an indicator of delta by delta T. You can clearly verify it also from the scaling analysis. Okay. Now, we have got the how the thermal boundary layer thickness varies with L for both the case Prandtl number much greater than 1 and Prandtl number much less than 1. But our objective at the end is to find out the heat transfer rate at the wall, which is obtained through the Nusselt number. Nusselt number calculation. So, now let us write the energy balance at the wall. So, this is the wall, this is the y axis. So, we can write minus k del T del y at y equal to 0 is equal to h into T at y equal to 0 T wall minus T infinity. So, let us make an order of magnitude analysis of that. So, this is of the order of K into delta T by delta T. This is the temperature gradient within the thermal boundary layer. Smaller the temperature gradient, higher is the heat flux at the wall. So, larger is the temperature gradient or smaller is the thermal boundary layer thickness, larger is the heat flux at the wall. So, thinner the thermal boundary layer, you will have basically the higher heat flux, and for a given Prandtl number, if you want to have thin delta T, you also have thin delta, because delta by delta T is fixed. So, thin delta is something which is very important for rapid heat transfer at the wall, and thin delta means high U infinity or high Reynolds number. So, you can see the very interesting relationship between fluid mechanics and heat transfer. So, if you want to have high rate of heat transfer at the wall, you must have thin thermal boundary layer. If you want to have thin thermal boundary layer for a given Prandtl number, that means you must have a thin hydrodynamic boundary layer, and that in turn should ensure a large Reynolds number. So, this gives the complete physical picture of the relationship between the fluid mechanics and heat transfer in forced convection. So, K delta T by delta T, this is of the order of K delta T by delta T, this is of the order of H into delta T. So, these two are of the same order, that means you have K delta T by delta T is of the order of H delta T, which implies H delta T by K is of the order of 1. Okay. So, H delta T by K is of the order of 1, but our objective is to calculate the Nusselt number based on L. This is H L by K. So, this is H delta T by K into L by delta T. So, this is of the order of L by delta T. So, for Prandtl number much less than 1, Nusselt number is of the order of Reynolds number to the power half into Prandtl number to the power half, and for Prandtl number much greater than 1, Nusselt number is of the order of Reynolds number to the power half into Prandtl number to the power 1/3. So, these are basically L by delta T order. So, just in the previous page of the notes we have written the expression for L by delta T or delta T by L. Now, what are the importances of this expression? See, if you really calculate, see, this did not require a whole lot of algebra to come to these conclusions. So, if you really calculate these, you will find that the Nusselt number will be some constant C into Reynolds number to the power half into Prandtl number to the power half for this case, and another constant C1 into Reynolds number to the power half into Prandtl number to the power 1/3 for this case. Question is, what are the values of those constants? Those you cannot get from this kind of expression. So, to do that, let us go through some type of analysis which is known as energy integral method. So, we start with U del T del x plus V del T del y is equal to alpha del 2 T del y 2. The objective of this is to calculate the heat transfer rate or Nusselt number at the wall. So, first we need to obtain the temperature profile and approximate temperature profile that ensures the energy balance in an integral form. So, to do that we integrate this equation with respect to y, assuming alpha as constant, all the assumptions that we had mentioned earlier are valid. We integrate it from 0 to delta t. So, now we call this as term 1, call this as term 2 and call this as term 3. So, now we write the term 2 first. We integrate the term 2 by parts. So, where v is the first function and del t del y is the second function. So, first function into integral of the second minus integral of derivative of first into integral of the second. So, now this is v at delta t, which we do not know. What is t at delta t? T at delta t is t infinity, minus v at 0 is 0 because there is no hole at the solid boundary, it is a no penetration boundary condition. So, it is 0 into t wall, that is 0. Then minus, now your continuity equation says del u del x plus del v del y equal to 0. It is 2 dimensional incompressible flow. So, from here you can write del v del y is equal to minus del u del x. So, this will become minus of del u del x t dy. Now, how to get this v at delta t? To get this v at delta t, we integrate the continuity equation. So, you can write integral del u del x dy 0 to delta t plus this is v delta t minus v at 0 is 0 is equal to 0. So, v delta t you can write as minus integral 0 to delta t del u del x dy, this into t infinity plus 0 to delta t del u del x t dy. So, term 1 plus term 2, so that is integral u del t del x plus t del u del x, this is this term, then minus this term integral del x of u into t infinity. T infinity is a constant, so you can bring it within the derivative without any problem, dy sorry. So, now you can write u del t del x plus t del u del x as del x of u t. So, this becomes integral of del x of u into t minus t infinity dy. So, let me write it again in the next page. Left hand side is equal to del x of integral del x of u into t minus t infinity dy. Big question is, now can we bring this out of the derivative? Willingly we cannot do it by just our wish. So, we have to be careful because we have to follow a rule which is called as Leibniz rule for derivative under integral sign. So, let me write this. Leibniz rule for differentiation under integral sign. Okay. Leibniz rule for differentiation under integral sign. So, now what is this? So, here in this example a is 0, just look into this expression, b is delta t which is a function of x, and f is u into t minus t infinity. So, f x b is equal to u into t at delta t minus t infinity, u at delta t into then t at delta t is nothing but t infinity. So, this is 0 and f x a dA dx is 0 because a itself is 0. So, these two correction terms in this special case they are 0. So, you get integral of del x of u into t minus t infinity dy So, this is something which I call that ignorance is a blessing in disguise. Say if you do not know the Leibniz rule, you straight away out of your own wish bring it out of the integral and it works for this problem. In most of the books that we follow, these steps are hidden. So, you tend to believe that these two are always the same, not always. In this case this additional correction terms become 0 and that is why this does not matter, but there could be some case when these correction terms are non-zero and this will definitely matter. Now, so this is the left hand side. The right hand side is integral, that is term 3 . So, this is alpha del t del y at delta t minus del t del y at 0. What is del t del y at delta t? Beyond the thermal boundary layer there is no temperature gradient. So, this is equal to 0. So, minus alpha del t del y at 0. So, you are left with left hand side equal to right hand side, that means d dx of integral u into t infinity minus t dy is equal to alpha del t del y at y equal to 0. This is known as energy integral equation. So, you can obtain an expression for delta t as a function of x from this equation, provided you have an estimation for t and you have an estimation for u, or temperature profile in the thermal boundary layer and velocity profile in the thermal boundary layer. So, temperature profile in the thermal boundary layer, as an example you consider temperature profile in the thermal boundary layer. Consider the following temperature profile in the thermal boundary layer. In a non-dimensional form, theta is equal to T minus T wall by T infinity minus T wall is equal to A0 plus A1 y by delta T plus A2 y by delta T whole square plus A3 y by delta T whole cube. This is a cubic profile. You can take any profile, but it has to satisfy certain boundary conditions, and based on the boundary conditions you can obtain A0, A1, A2, A3 etc. So, what are the possible boundary conditions? The physical situation is you have wall, this is y, so this is y equal to 0. Possible boundary conditions. The first boundary condition, priority wise we are writing, because had we used a lower order profile, by priority less number of constants need to be determined and then fewer boundary conditions would be there. So, two boundary conditions are at least important, one is temperature at the wall and another is temperature at delta T. Those two must be satisfied by the profile at least. So, at y is equal to 0, what is T? T is equal to T wall, that means you have theta is equal to 0. At y is equal to delta T, what is T? T is T infinity, that means theta is equal to 1, right. Third is at y is equal to delta T, you must have del theta del y equal to 0. There is no further gradient of temperature as you go outside the thermal boundary layer. And the fourth boundary condition, because there are 4 constants here, you require 4 boundary conditions. The fourth one is something which is very interesting. So, you write the energy equation at the wall, U del T del x plus V del T del y is equal to alpha del 2 T del y 2. Apply at the wall. Wall layer basically, interface between the wall, apply at the wall layer, the fluid layer in contact with the wall. So, there U is 0 because of no slip, if you apply it at the wall, V is 0 because of no penetration, that means you must have del 2 T del y 2 equal to 0, that means at y equal to 0 you have del 2 theta del y 2 equal to 0, because in the expression for theta except T all there is nothing which is a function of y. So, del 2 T del y 2 is as good as del 2 theta del y 2. So, if you use these conditions, 4 conditions, you will get 4 algebraic equations from which you will get A0, A1, A2, A3, and you will get that theta is equal to 3 by 2 y by delta t minus half y by delta t whole cube. This is a famous cubic profile. This theta is T minus T wall by T infinity minus T wall. Now, we will plug this in the energy integral equation. So, energy integral equation so, you can write this as d dx of integral u into T infinity minus T wall plus T wall minus T by T infinity minus T wall dy is equal to alpha del del y of T minus T wall by T infinity minus T wall, divide by T infinity minus T wall both sides, because you want to transform the variable from T to theta. So, then you are left with d dx of integral of u into 1 minus theta dy, this is T infinity minus T wall by T infinity minus T wall is 1, and this is minus of T minus T wall by T infinity minus T wall, that is minus of theta. So, this becomes u into 1 minus theta is equal to alpha del theta del y at y equal to 0. Now, as an example, we work out the case for Prandtl number much less than 1. So, if the Prandtl number is much less than 1, that means delta is much less than delta T. So, virtually within entire thermal boundary layer, U is U infinity, because the thermal hydrodynamic boundary layer is very thin. So, that means very quickly you go out from the inside to the outside of the hydrodynamic boundary layer, but still the thermal boundary layer has a long way to go. So, within the thermal boundary layer the velocity is remaining as u infinity, because you have already come out of the hydrodynamic boundary layer at a very short distance from the solid boundary. So, u is u infinity. So, that means you can write d dx of, so u infinity you can bring out of the integration 0 to delta t 1 minus, now you can substitute the profile 3 by 2 y by delta t minus half y by delta t whole cube dy is equal to alpha into del theta del y at y is equal to 0. Theta is equal to 3 by 2 y by delta t minus half y by delta t whole cube. So, del theta del y as y at y equal to 0 is 3 by 2 delta t and alpha is there. So, now for this integration you can assume y by delta t is equal to eta. So, dy is equal to delta t into d eta. So, you have u infinity d delta t dx into, when y is equal to 0 eta equal to 0, when y equal to delta t eta is equal to 1. So, 1 minus 3 by 2 eta plus eta cube half eta cube d eta is equal to 3 alpha by 2 delta t. So, we will calculate u infinity into d delta t dx integral 0 to 1. So, let us do this integration. So, eta minus 3 eta square by 4 plus eta 4 by 8 0 to 1 is equal to 3 alpha by 2 delta t. So, this is u infinity d delta t dx into 1 minus 3/4 plus 1/8 is equal to 3 alpha by 2 delta t. So, this is u infinity d delta t dx, this is 8 minus 3, 8 minus 6 is 2 plus 1 3. So, 3 by 8 is 3 alpha by 2 delta t, that 3 gets cancelled. So, delta t d delta t dx is equal to 4 alpha by u infinity. So, if you integrate it, delta t square by 2 is equal to 4 alpha x by u infinity plus a constant c, C1, C we have already used for specific heat. So, C1. Now, so one very important concept is Now what is the value of what is the initial condition that you put here? So can you say that at x equal to 0 delta equal to 0? So this is x equal to 0. Actually if your heating starts from here, then the boundary layer will start developing little bit away from here. At x equal to 0 is the singular point, but for all mathematical purposes we tell that for x tends to 0 plus delta t tends to 0, provided the heating starts from here. But if the heating starts from here, then at x equal to this delta equal to 0, delta t equal to 0. So let us assume that if the heating starts from the beginning, the heating may be cooling also. In this example we are considering heating. If the heating starts from the beginning of the plate, then we can write as x tends to 0 plus delta t tends to 0. So if you put at x equal to 0 delta t equal to 0, you will get C1 equal to 0. So you can get delta t by x is equal to delta t square by x is equal to 8 alpha by u infinity. So you have delta t by x is equal to square root of 8 alpha by u infinity x. Okay. So this is delta t by x. So you can see this is square root of 8 into Reynolds number u infinity root over u infinity x by alpha is Reynolds number to the power half into Prandtl number to the power half. So this is Reynolds number to the power minus half into Prandtl number to the power minus half. See the beauty of the order of magnitude analysis. Using the order of magnitude analysis, we could arrive, except for this constant, we could arrive this dependence without doing a lot of algebra. And therefore if you get skilled with order of magnitude analysis, you will be able to get a physical insight, deep physical insight into a particular problem without doing lots of algebraic calculations. And that is something, that is a power that one needs to develop while analyzing the convective heat transfer. Now the task that still remains is the calculation of the Nusselt number. So for calculation of the Nusselt number, we use the energy balance at the wall. So if you use the definition of theta as T minus T wall by T infinity minus T wall, so K into del theta del y at y is equal to 0 is equal to h, and we have assumed theta is equal to 3 by 2 y by delta t minus half y by delta t whole cube. So del theta del y at y is equal to 0 is 3 by 2 delta t. So you can substitute that here and write k into 3 by 2 delta t is equal to h. So from here you can write h delta t by k is equal to 3 by 2. So now what we require is Nusselt number based on L or x. X is the local Nusselt number, and you can calculate the Nusselt number based on L by putting x equal to L. So this is h x by k. So, this is h delta t by k into x by delta t. H delta t by k is 3 by 2 and x by delta t is 1 by square root of 8 into Reynolds number to the power half into Prandtl number to the power half. Okay. So, we can write Reynolds number to the power x, Reynolds number based on the length x, not L. So, this Reynolds number that we had here, this is Reynolds number based on x. So, Nusselt number based on x is equal to 3 by 2 root 8 into Reynolds number to the power half into Prandtl number to the power half. This is for Prandtl number much less than 1. The case of Prandtl number much greater than 1 is algebraically a little bit more involved, and I leave it on you as an exercise. Conceptually it is very similar, only the substitution of u, the velocity profile, you have to now put the actual velocity profile within the hydrodynamic boundary layer instead of taking it as u infinity, because delta in this case is, in case of Prandtl number much greater than 1, is delta greater than delta t. Okay. So, let us summarize what we have discussed so far. We have discussed so far the external forced convection, that is forced convection over a flat plate as an example, and we have deduced expressions, scaling expressions for the thermal boundary layer thickness variation and the Nusselt number for different cases, Prandtl number equal to 1, Prandtl number much less than 1 and Prandtl number much greater than 1. The next agenda item that we will now get into is a very interesting topic. It is called as internal forced convection. Internal forced convection is something which is encountered very commonly in industries, and the classical example is flow through pipes or flow through channels where heat transfer is taking place. So, we want to get a physical feel and mathematical feel of how to tackle that condition. So, to get a feel of that, first we will go through a little bit of hydrodynamics. So, we will consider concept of hydrodynamically developing and fully developed flow. Let us say that instead of one flat plate, you have a couple of flat plates. Two parallel plates encountering a situation like this. What is the situation? First let us show the solid boundaries. There is a fluid that comes from far stream with a velocity u infinity and temperature T infinity. Now, let the wall temperature, let it be symmetric at the two walls. This is T wall, where T wall could be a function of x in general. Now, what happens is, when the fluid enters the channel, the boundary layers will start developing. So, we have discussed about what is the hydrodynamic boundary layer and thermal boundary layer. Here first we will briefly discuss the hydrodynamic boundary layer. So, the hydrodynamic boundary layer will start developing from here and it will also start developing from here. Because of symmetry, the boundary layers will meet at the center line. Beyond this, we get a velocity profile which can be obtained from the exact solution of the Navier-Stokes equation, and we have covered this in our course on dynamics of fluid flows. So, we will get a parabolic velocity distribution. Remember that this parabolic velocity distribution does not necessarily occur exactly where the boundary layers merge, but that is a matter of more detail and we are not going into that complication at this introductory level course. So, then it is not only a parabolic velocity profile that is obtained for a pressure driven flow, for other cases it may be a different velocity profile. More important is that this velocity profile does not change as you move along x. So, u is not a function of x. This is the hallmark of hydrodynamically fully developed flow. This region is called as hydrodynamic development region, developing region, or entrance region. The length from the entrance of the channel up to this region is known as the entrance length. Now, you can estimate the entrance length by estimating that when the delta becomes of the order of half of the channel height. So, that can be done through some fundamental analysis. I am not going into that. The pressure, wall shear stress and the center line velocity all vary in a very interesting way within this entrance region, and how do they vary within this entrance region is not a matter of importance for the discussion of this present chapter that we are going through, because we will be discussing only hydrodynamically and thermally fully developed flow. So, but for your interest and curiosity, I have put those materials in the lecture notes that I have provided. So, you can go through the description of how the hydrodynamic and how the hydrodynamic parameters like center line velocity, pressure and wall shear stress all vary as you move along the entrance region. You can read the material in the lecture notes, but you can follow the material that I am covering today without reading that portion of the material, without losing any continuity. So, we have discussed about what is hydrodynamically fully developed flow. So, the question that will come is there an equivalent thermal counterpart? So, we now discuss concept of thermally developing and thermally fully developed flow. let us again say that there is a channel made of two parallel plates. It is the simplest channel to conceptually understand the physics of the problem. So, let us say that the free stream first stream temperature is T infinity and the wall temperature is T wall, which is greater than T infinity. So, boundary layer will start developing. This is thermal boundary layer, and when the thermal boundary layer is developing, let us say that the thickness of the thermal boundary layer is delta T, which is a function of x. Remember that the two walls may not be symmetrically heated, then the boundary layer growth will not be symmetric. But let us assume for this time being that this is also T wall, same as this wall. How the T wall is varying along this wall, the same is the way in which T wall is varying along this wall, so that everything is symmetric for simplicity. So, delta T is a function of x, and we can write at each and every location minus k del t del y. Remember sir, if we set up the y axis like this, then we are writing the heat transfer by going from bottom to the top. So, minus k del t del y at y equal to h, say this is h, is equal to h into, now we define something. See now that, so we are going from now the fluid side to the wall side. So, it will be proportional to T of fluid minus T of wall, but T of fluid, it is not T infinity anymore, right. T infinity is outside the channel, but within the channel T of the fluid is not T infinity. So, let us write some Tf minus T wall. So, the big question is, what is this Tf? So, obviously if you want to take some average temperature at the section, then that would represent the correct physical behavior of Tf at that section, provided this follows exact energy balance. So, that Tf is called as the bulk mean temperature. Tf is taken as bulk mean temperature or Tm. What is the bulk mean temperature? If you consider an average temperature across a section which represents the correct thermal energy of the section. So, what is the thermal energy of the section? Let us assume that you have an incompressible fluid flowing through the section. So, thermal energy of the section this is m dot into H, this is m dot into Cp into T. This is the local. Over a section you take a small element, this is the center line, at a distance y you take a small element of width dy. What is the mass flow rate through this? Rho u dy into the width of the channel, let us say 1, this into Cp into T. So, instead of dy you can write dA also to generalize rho u dA Cpt. Over a section if you integrate it, then you will get the total thermal energy. And then if you are trying to find out an equivalent temperature, you divide it by the rho Cp into or m dot into Cp. So, integral of rho Cp UdA. So, Tm is defined as integral of rho Cp UTdA by integral of rho Cp UdA. This is the definition of Tm. So, physically what does it mean? Physically what it means is that if at a section you stir the fluid or you mix the fluid very thoroughly, if you stir the fluid or mix the fluid very thoroughly, after a rigorous or vigorous stirring, you will get an equivalent uniform temperature, and that uniform temperature is the bulk mean temperature, which represents the same thermal energy, but an equivalent temperature which could have existed across the all points in the same section to represent the same thermal energy as that of the original case. Now, special case, if you have rho Cp as constant, so then Tm becomes integral of UTdA by integral of UdA. So, with this understanding, this Tf now becomes Tm. So, let us write the expression here again. Minus k del t del y at y equal to h is equal to h into Tm minus T1. Let us write an order of magnitude of this. So, what is the order of magnitude of this? K, what is del t del y? Del t del y is T1 minus Tm by delta t, and this is of the order of h into T wall minus Tm. So, we can write h delta t by k is of the order of 1 by equating the orders of these two, right. So, h by k, which is the Nusselt number based on h, here the characteristic length scale is either the channel height or half of the channel height, or just if you go to the previous picture, here the characteristic length scale is either the half of the channel height or the channel height, or from engineering consideration the hydraulic diameter of the channel. So, whatever it is, you will see that we have to fundamentally calculate h into h by k. So, this is h delta t by k into h by delta t. Because delta t varies with h, so you will see that this will depend on x in the thermally developing region. After the thermal boundary layers have merged, after the thermal boundary layers have merged, the thermal boundary layers have merged means typically after this location. After the thermal boundary layers have merged, then what is the value of delta t? Then delta t becomes h. that means Nusselt number H is of the order of 1 and does not change further with x. This is called as thermally fully developed flow. This is called as thermally fully developed flow. Now, let us write the energy balance at the wall again. So, you write minus k del T del y at y equal to h is equal to h into Tm minus T wall. So, you can write minus k del y of T minus T wall. You can put T wall within y derivative because T wall is not a function of y. With respect to y, it is like a constant. T wall is a function of x only because wall direction is x direction. T minus T wall by Tm minus T wall at y equal to h is equal to h. So, if you now define theta is equal to T minus T wall by Tm minus T wall, then you can write minus k del theta del y at y equal to h is equal to h. For thermally fully developed flow, you have h by k is equal to constant. That means h by k equal to constant. This we have just seen. That means del theta del y at y equal to h is a constant. Which means see del theta del y at y equal to h could potentially be a function of x because theta could be a function of x and y. You differentiate it with respect to y and put y equal to h, then it is no more a function of y, it is just a, this is just a function of x, but that is a constant. That is possible only when theta is not a function of x. So, we can say that for thermally fully developed flow, theta is equal to T minus T wall by Tm minus T wall, this is not a function of x. Where T is a function of xy, T wall is a function of x and Tm is a function of x, because its definition, if you see, look at the definition of Tm. In the definition of Tm, it is already integrated with respect to y. So, it could not be a function of y, it can only be a function of x. So, this is a very important conceptual difference between hydrodynamically and thermally fully developed flow. For hydrodynamically fully developed flow, the velocity will not change after the flow becomes hydrodynamically fully developed. But for thermally fully developed flow, the temperature can still change even if the flow is thermally fully developed, because you are consistently allowing heat transfer at the wall because of the temperature difference. So, you will have a continuous change of temperature, but what will not change is not T but theta. Theta will not change with x, not T. So, for thermally fully developed flow, T may change with x, but for hydrodynamically fully developed flow you will not change with x. So, these are very important conceptual considerations. Now, to understand these types of flows, internal flows using bulk mean temperature, let us consider something which is very elementary to do with, but it gives a lot of insight. This is called as say overall energy balance. So, let us say that there is a channel at the entrance of this channel some fluid is entering, and you assume that we are trying to write an energy balance at a section which is of length dx. Let P be the perimeter of the channel. Let us say that we assume that the wall, there is a wall heat flux q wall which may be a function of x. See, the introduction of the bulk mean temperature, what is the advantage? The advantage is now we can apply a one dimensional model. We can simply assume that for an incompressible fluid the energy entering here is m dot Cp Tm, thermal energy. The energy leaving here is m dot Cp Tm plus dTm. Can you tell what is the assumption behind this? There is a very important assumption that goes behind this. The very important assumption that goes behind this is as follows. The very important assumption that goes behind this is that you neglect axial conduction. That is, the axial conduction is neglected. So, if axial conduction is neglected, then only the advective transport of energy is the energy transfer at the two sections. Otherwise, you have to also write the conduction flux here and the conduction flux here. So, if you neglect axial conduction, now you can write an overall energy balance. What is the energy balance? At steady state, rate of energy in is same as rate of energy out, which means m dot into Cp into Tm is equal to energy, or there is some additional energy in this plus what is the energy in, this is the due to the heat flux at the wall. So, let us say this is a circular pipe. So, what is the total rate of heat transfer if the heat flux is q wall? See, that is q wall into 2 pi r into dx, that is the surface, outer surface across which the heat transfer is taking place. So, instead of 2 pi r we can generalize it by saying it as a perimeter. So, we can say that q wall into perimeter into dx is equal to m dot Cp into Tm plus dTm. So, let me write this equation again. M dot Cp Tm plus q wall into perimeter into dx is equal to m dot Cp Tm plus dTm. So, we can write m dot Cp dTm dx is equal to q wall into p. So, dTm dx is equal to q wall into p by m dot into Cp. Neglecting axial conduction is very common in pipe flows where the primary mode of transport along the axial direction is advection and not conduction. Conduction primarily dictates the transport along the transverse direction, but not along the axial direction. So, this is dTm dx. Okay. Now, let us assume an example where we can say that T wall is constant. So, then dTm dx is as good as d dx of Tm minus T wall, because T wall is a constant, and Q wall is equal to H into T wall minus Tm. See, the direction of the heat flux we have shown from the wall to the fluid. So, is the temperature difference between the wall and the fluid is the bulk mean temperature. So, we can write d dx of Tm minus T wall is equal to H into T wall minus Tm into P by m dot Cp. So, d of T wall minus Tm by T wall minus Tm is equal to minus P by m dot Cp into H dx, this integral. Let L be the length of the channel. So, we integrate it from x equal to 0 to x equal to L. This is a very interesting example where the heat transfer coefficient H we are not committing whether it will be a constant or a variable, because we are nowhere claiming that it is a thermally fully developed flow. This we are writing just from energy balance, does not matter whether the flow is thermally fully developed or not. We will come to the special consequence of thermally fully developed flow in a moment, but let us assume for the time being that it is not thermally fully developed. It may or may not be. So, now you can write the average heat transfer coefficient H bar is equal to integral of H dx by L. So, you can write now the left hand side d of T wall minus Tm by T wall minus Tm. Let us say T wall minus Tm is delta T. So, this is d delta T by delta T. So, this is ln delta T L by delta T 0 is equal to minus P into H bar into L by m dot Cp. Now, what is perimeter into L? Perimeter into L is the surface area of the channel. So, minus A into H bar into m dot into Cp. H bar is the average heat transfer coefficient. This is average heat transfer coefficient. Now, we can also write that the net rate of heat transfer Q dot, this is m dot Cp into Tm at x equal to L minus Tm at x equal to 0. This is m dot Cp delta T. So, the fluid enters with a bulk mean temperature at x equal to 0 and leaves at bulk mean temperature at x equal to L. If you heat the fluid, there will be a increase in temperature. So, this is the rate of heat transfer. So, you can write this as m dot Cp T wall minus Tml minus T wall minus Tm0 with a minus sign, right. This is nothing but delta TL and this is delta T0. So, m dot Cp you can write as Q dot minus Q dot by delta TL minus delta T0. So, you can write ln delta TL by delta T0 is equal to minus AH by minus Q dot into delta TL by minus delta T0. So, you can write Q dot, this 2 minus gets cancelled, Q dot is equal to AH into just a minute. So, this is Q dot divided by delta TL by delta T0, right. M dot, in place of m dot it is Q dot m dot Cp, it is Q dot divided by. So, this will go to the numerator. So, AH into delta TL minus delta T0 by ln delta TL by delta T0. This H is H bar. So, this is equivalent to something which is a very interesting concept that we have now introduced. This is called as delta T ln. Delta T ln is called as LMTD, logarithmic mean temperature difference. Logarithmic mean temperature difference. So, logarithmic mean temperature difference, it is delta T L minus delta T 0 by ln delta T L by delta T 0. So, why it is necessary? Now, if you draw the temperature as a function of x, wall temperature, this is T wall, fluid temperature is like this. So, you can see that, let us say this is Tm as a function of x. So, Tm, so this delta T, the temperature difference between the wall and the fluid is continuously changing. So, what is an effective delta T? So, this is the effective delta T, effective temperature difference between the fluid and the solid, where fluid and the wall, where, or between two fluids in general, if the wall is also considered to be another system. So, it is the effective temperature difference between two systems where the temperature is continuously varying. The temperature difference is continuously varying. One of the temperatures may not be varying, but the temperature difference is continuously varying. Can you tell that what will be LMTD in this case when the temperature profiles are parallel? This is nothing but same as delta T, because it is uniform everywhere for parallel temperature profiles. And you can easily look into it by using L'Hopital's rule for calculating the limit when it is 0 by 0. in the definition of delta TLN. Okay. So, we have understood that what is the influence of the energy balance implication on the heat transfer for a constant wall temperature, no matter whether it is thermally fully developed or developing. Let us try to work out a problem that illustrates the energy balance. So, let us get into your lecture notes and let us work out a problem which is example 2.3. This is page number 15 of your lecture notes. It is given that an experimental nuclear core simulation apparatus consists of a long thin walled metallic tube of diameter d. So, let me write diameter d and length L, which is electrically heated to produce a sinusoidal heat flux. So, Q wall is equal to Q0 into sin pi x by L. Inlet bulk mean temperature is Tmi, mass flow rate is m dot, the flow is fully developed over the entire length of the tube. Find the total rate of heat transfer Q dot, what is Tmo out, that is the outlet temperature, not 0, Tm at the outlet temperature, at the outlet condition, the axial distribution of the wall temperature and Tw max condition. So, let us work out the problem one by one step. So, what is the total rate of heat transfer? Total rate of heat transfer is nothing but Q wall into perimeter into dx from x equal to 0 to x equal to L. So, this is Q wall is Q0 into sin pi x by L. So, pi d, perimeter is pi d. So, pi d into 0 to L sin pi x by L dx. So, this is 2 dL into Q0. The fluid outlet temperature, is Q dot is equal to m dot Cp into Tm out minus Tm in. This is TL minus T0. This is, so this temperature, this energy difference is supplied by what? This is supplied by the heat transfer at the wall. So, 2 dL into Q0 dot, this is the total rate of heat transfer. So, then this means Tm out is equal to Tm in plus 2 dL Q0 by m dot Cp. The axial distribution of wall temperature can be, so here the wall temperature is not fixed. So, the heat flux at the wall is equal to H into T wall minus Tm. So, that means T wall is equal to Tm plus Q wall by H. So, how will you get Tm as a function of x? Now, for Tm as a function of x, you have to use the energy balance. So, dTm dx this expression that I have just derived, I am bringing it here again. So, dTm dx is equal to q wall into P by m dot into Cp. So, q wall into P by m dot Cp. So, q wall into pi d by m dot Cp, where q wall is this q0 into sin pi x by L. So, if you integrate it, you will get Tm as a function of x. So, then that will give you T wall as a function of x, that is Tm in plus dl q0 by m dot Cp into 1 minus cos pi x by L plus q0 by h into sin pi x by L. So, this term comes from this, and this term comes from the integral of dTm dx. The fourth is, what is the maximum temperature and where it is located? For T wall maximum, you must have dt wall dx equal to 0. So, dt wall dx, we had just the expression of dt wall dx. So, we have, that means ddx of Tm in plus dl q0 by m dot Cp into 1 minus cos pi x by L plus q0 by h sin pi x by L, this is equal to 0. So, that means x as the at the maximum location temperature, x max is equal to L by pi tan inverse m dot minus m dot Cp by dLh. And if you put this x equal to x max, you will get T max, T wall max is equal to Tm in plus dl q dot by m dot Cp into 1 minus cos pi x max by L plus q0 by x sin pi x max by L. Okay. So, we have solved or worked out a problem to illustrate the overall energy balance. Now, the question is that what is the special implication if the flow is thermally fully developed. So, we will write this question and this will be the last agenda of today's discussion. What is the special implication if the flow is thermally fully developed? What is the special implication if the flow is thermally fully developed? So, we will take an example of constant wall heat flux. So, Q wall is equal to H into T wall minus Tm, this is constant. Now, differentiate both sides with respect to x. So, dq wall dx is equal to dh dx into T wall minus Tm plus h into dt wall dx minus dtm dx. So, Now for thermally fully developed flow, H by K is constant. So if K is constant, this is very important, if K is constant then H is also constant, otherwise H by K is constant is the fundamental. So it does not necessarily mean that H is constant. So if K is varying, it might so happen that H is also varying similarly, but H by K is constant. So H by K is constant is a fundamental requirement of thermally fully developed flow and not H is constant. But if K is also constant, then we can say that H is also constant. And if K is constant is not something which is very abnormal, because we have already considered the energy equation with constant properties. So H is constant. If H is constant, then if K is constant, then H is also constant. So constant property means K is constant, that means H is constant. So if H is also constant, so then dH dx will be 0. And for constant wall heat flux dq wall dx equal to 0. So from this we can conclude that dt wall dx equal to dtm dx. This is equation number 1. Then let us consider the definition of theta. Theta is equal to T minus T wall by Tm minus T wall. So T is equal to T wall plus theta into Tm minus T wall. Differentiate both sides with respect to x. T being a function of x and y, this will become partial derivative. This will be dt wall dx plus d theta dx into Tm minus T wall or del theta del x if you want to write in terms of partial derivative, plus theta into dTm dx minus dt wall dx. Now for thermally fully developed flow, theta is not a function of x. So this is 0 for thermally fully developed flow. Also from equation 1, just the previous equation, this is 0 from 1. So from here we conclude that del T del x is equal to dt wall dx. This is equation 2 for thermally fully developed flow. So combining 1 and 2, we can write that del T del x is equal to dt wall dx is equal to dtm dx. We can write something more, not just this. What more we can write? See, this is a function of x and y and these are functions of x. A general function of x and y is equal to a general function of x only when each is a constant. So is equal to a constant, this is very important. It is not just these three are equal, but each of these is a constant. So for thermally fully developed flow, with constant wall heat flux, because that is the boundary condition that we have taken. For thermally fully developed flow with constant wall heat flux, that is important, not just thermally fully. For thermally fully developed flow with constant wall heat flux. So now let us draw a profile temperature as a function of x, bulk mean temperature and wall temperature. for thermally fully developed flow and thermally developing flow together with constant wall heat flux. This is the boundary condition. So, let us assume that the wall temperature is higher. So, now the constant. So, first let us consider the energy balance. We start with the energy balance. So, let us bring out that page where we had written the energy balance. I am trying to bring it out. Yes, see this page, see this equation. Now, can you tell whether this equation depends on whether it is constant wall heat flux or not? This equation does not depend on whether it is constant wall heat flux or not. It only depends on one very important assumption. What is that assumption? That axial conduction is neglected. So, if you neglect axial conduction, this equation is valid. So, if the wall heat flux is constant, the entire right hand side is constant. That means dTm dx is constant no matter whether it is thermally fully developed or not, if the wall heat flux is constant, provided there is negligible axial conduction. So, if dTm dx is constant, that means Tm versus x is linear. So, this is Tm. So, dTm dx equal to constant for thermally fully developed flow with constant wall heat flux, but it is also a constant for a general flow no matter whether it is thermally fully developed or not. From energy balance we can tell that, provided there is no axial conduction. So, this is Tm. How will be T wall? Now, dt wall dx is equal to dTm dx, that means those two are parallel straight lines and both are constants. Dt wall, see, look at this expression, dTm dx equal to dt wall dx equal to constant, dt dx is constant means t versus x is linear. So, these two are straight lines with the same slope if the flow is thermally fully developed. So, if they are not straight lines with the same slope, then that means you are in the developing region. So, in the developing region, it will be like this. So, this will be thermally developing, this will be thermally fully developed. And this is T wall. I think it is very important that you develop a skill of drawing these kinds of schematics, because this will give you a physical feel of how the temperatures are varying along the axial direction. I will just mention a correction in the lecture notes. Somehow by typographic mistake these two had been interchanged in the handout that I have given. So, please correct it, please, whatever I have drawn in the slides today, this is the correct picture. Somehow in the write up that I have given, these two have been just interchanged, T wall and Tm, that is a typographic mistake. Please correct that mistake, because that could otherwise give rise to some conceptual confusion. So, let us come to an end of today's session. In today's session we started discussing on the external forced convection order of magnitude analysis for thermal boundary layer over a flat plate with Prandtl number much less than 1 and Prandtl number much greater than 1. We also derived the energy integral method and worked out an example where we found out the Nusselt number as a function of Reynolds number and Prandtl number using the energy integral method. Then we discussed about internal forced convection, the discussion is still going on. We have discussed the concept of hydrodynamically and thermally developing and fully developed flow, and in that context we discussed that how to write an expression for the overall energy balance. In that context, for constant wall heat flux we introduced a concept of LMTD, but which can be generalized for constant wall temperature, not for constant wall heat flux. For constant wall temperature we introduced a concept called as LMTD. Now that can be used not just for constant wall temperature but for any other general case. And then we discussed about the implications of constant wall flux boundary condition for thermally fully developed flow, and we finally drew a sketch where we described the wall temperature and bulk mean temperature, how those vary along the axial direction as you are analyzing thermally fully developed flow and thermally developing flow, both regimes but with constant wall heat flux. Thank you very much for attending today's session. The session is now open to questions through the chat. So, one question is, we have taken the examples of Prandtl number equal to 1, much less than 1 and much greater than 1. What about Prandtl number equal to 1? So, for close to 1. So, for Prandtl number close to 1, the situation, the scaling, see this, for the scaling we always do the limiting cases, because scaling is not the exact solution. For Prandtl number close to 1, none of these expressions will be exactly valid, but one can do a detailed analysis by putting the exact Prandtl number, but then you have to get the solution, but the results will be very close to the limiting case of Prandtl number equal to 1. So, Prandtl number close to 1 is a case which is typical to water. What does order actually mean? I have discussed it yesterday, but let me again discuss it. So, when we say order of 1, it could be something between 1 to 9. If we say order of 10, it could be something between 10 to 99, like that. So, order does not mean exact value, but it means that what is the scale. So, that is the answer that I can give. So, there is a question, which is the best book for studying basic fluid mechanics? It is a very controversial question. I cannot tell it, because I mean there are issues related to business, marketing and all this. I cannot name one single book for this. So, I mean I can say that I mean there are many very good books on fluid mechanics. If you are talking about free material, online free material where there is no business interest, you can look into my lectures in YouTube in Introduction to Fluid Mechanics and Fluids Engineering. This is available in NPTEL website, free in YouTube. This has no business interest, so you can look into this. Next question, how do we calculate the order referring to the examples we discussed? So, we calculate the order, say there is a derivative. So, there is something, so del u del x, so that means it is some delta u by delta x, you write maximum delta u by maximum delta x, that will give you the order. Okay, if there are no more questions, we conclude this session. Thank you very much for attending this session, and we will continue with the internal forced convection tomorrow. Thank you very much.